Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to upload a second video last week. Unexpected things happen. Anyway, today we have a brilliant attacking game that was between Roedl and Saemisch. So without further ado, let's get right into the game. The game started off e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, takes, knight f6, knight to c3, d6, bishop e2, and e6. And we have a shenanigan Sicilian here. Castles, bishop to e7, f4, castles, bishop e3, bishop d7, bishop f3, and queen b8. This is slightly unusual. Normally, you would see the move knight takes d4, and after bishop takes d4, you would see bishop to c6. But I guess queen b8 was what they used to play back then. Knight takes d4 is a more modern move. Queen to d2, and rook to d8. Rook to d1, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, bishop to c6, queen to f2, e5, bishop e3, b5, and g4. So what white basically wants to do is to pawn storm the kingside by just advancing his kingside pawns up. And he can do this because black really has no way of taking advantage of his exposed king. It's just really difficult for black to get anything out of the kingside. So instead of trying to take advantage of white's exposed king, black's usual plan in the system is to go for queenside counterplay. So b4 is a very logical move. Knight d5 was played, bishop takes d5, e takes d5, and now the first error of the game, e takes f4. Why is this an error, you may ask? This is an error because it opens up the position for white's two bishops. White has the bishop pair and black only has one bishop. You guys already know what happens when you open up the position and there's a bishop pair. It normally doesn't end very well for the side with the lone bishop. I have multiple videos on my channel about this topic. Well, what should you play then, you may ask? Well, I believe instead of opening up the position, you should just play the move e4. This forces the move bishop to e2 because obviously bishop g2 fails, so knight takes g4. And after bishop to e2, there's really no way for white to get his bishops into the game. In this position, this e4 pawn kind of acts like a thorn in white's position and prevents white from putting his bishop along this b1 h7 diagonal, and it makes it very difficult for him to attack. After bishop e2, I believe black has good counterplay after the move queen to b7, targeting this d5 pawn. And now I believe queen g2 is really the only response to save that pawn, because after knight takes d5, queen takes e4 is actually winning. So instead, I believe the move rook e8 is fine, and black is completely fine here. Equal position. And also a note, instead of the queen b7 move, if you try queen c8, which attacks c2 and g4, this doesn't work because queen g2 protects g4. If you try to take on c2, white will immediately gain the pawn back after the move g5. Knight d7, rook to d2, queen a4, queen takes e4. White is actually better in this position because the thorn is gone and white can again attack along this diagonal. So this position is actually winning for white. So anyway, e takes f4 was played, bishop takes f4, knight to d7, and now what is the best move in this position? Bishop e4, great move, placing the bishop along the strong diagonal where it will be very easy for white to attack. Rook f8, and now how do you add more firepower to the attack? What pieces aren't in the attack right now? Rook to d3, using the rook to add more firepower into the attack. This is called a rook lift, and I featured this concept before. So now black plays the move queen to b6. Do you trade the queens, or do you not trade the queens? Of course, you do not trade the queens because the attacking side normally benefits from having queens on the board because it adds a lot of firepower to the attack. Queen c7, and bishop d4. Another great move, placing the bishop along this long diagonal, and when it's combined with the power of this bishop along this diagonal, this attack will be extremely deadly. Bishop f6, and what this move tries to do is trade off white's strong bishop on d4. But unfortunately, black overlooks a combination. I would like you to pause the video here and see if you can find it. Bishop takes h7, destroying the king's position. After king takes a7, rook h3 is the follow-up, king g8, and now it might look like white has no good options here, because the queen cannot easily go onto this h-file because of this bishop. And other than that, there's really no way to add more firepower to the attack. But once you trade off the bishops, the queen can go to h4 now, and now this attack along the h-file will prove decisive. Queen c5 was played, rook f2. Knight h5. This is just a desperation move. Queen takes h5 and f6. So now black has created a flight square on f7. So queen h8 no longer works to king f7. But is there a way to cover that flight square so that queen h8 will deliver checkmate? I'll let you pause the video here and see if you can find this for yourself. g5. This is the killing move, threatening to play the move g6, which covers f7, so then queen to h8 will be checkmate. So the move queen takes d5 was played. Obviously, g6 no longer works due to queen takes h5, but instead, white played queen to h7 check. After king to f7, rook takes f6 was enough to make black resign. I hope this game demonstrates to you how strong bishops can be when you're attacking your opponent's king. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Goodbye.